Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Dive and welcome you to yet another Cutter Top 10 NBA themed video. Of course, I'm going to be doing probably some sports block theme blocks like hockey every so often, then basketball, baseball, all that stuff. Today we're going to be looking at the top 10 NBA arenas of all time. They're not stadiums, they're arenas. Um, the NBA has played in stadiums before, a couple of All-Star games, including the Cowboys Stadium one in 2010 with 110,000 players. Heck, even the Raptors, who I'm sporting with a chevron jersey of one Kyle Lowry, who retired as a Raptor with the one-day contract and will get his number 7 retired by the Raptors. They played at the Sky Dome where the Blue Jays played from 1996, when they started in 95, 96, all the way to 98, 99. Well, I don't think they played a home game at the Sky Dome. They played at Maple Leaf Gardens, but they needed a new primary arena, and Air Canada Center, now called Scotiabank Arena, is home to the Raptors ever since. Detroit played at the Detroit played at the Silver Dome for many years. Minnesota played at the Metrodome for a few years before Target Center was opened. Houston played at the Did Houston play at the Astrodome? Oh no, that was just a one-off All-Star game, I think. I don't know. But anyway, let's look at the top 10 arenas fans had voted. Anyway, number 10 is Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. This is not basically a biased list, because if it was a biased list, it would be top 5. But yeah, Scotiabank Arena is basically huge for Toronto, called the Air Canada Center. And the Raptors having more playoff success than the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I'm bummed. But anyhow, the Raptors were a good team. And of course, they moved from the Sky Dome / Maple Leaf Gardens to Scotiabank Arena, where Air Canada Center, whatever you want to call it. I could still call it the ACC. And they built up a lot of Canadian camaraderie, especially with Vancouver leaving the NBA for Memphis in 2001. Anyway, we knew everything would happen for a reason. The Raptors have done decently. They only have 2 banners up. Well, Kyle Lowry's number 7 will be up, but it's still good. And the Raptors won the 2019 championship. Number 9 is the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. You're thinking, Alamo Dome? That's not where they play. No, I know they play where they play now, but that's not it. San Antonio used to play their games when they came into the NBA from the ABA in the Hemisphere Arena. And then in 1993, this big stadium that San Antonio built just to entice a college football or even an NFL team came through, and it didn't work out. But the Alamo Dome needed to be used. College football put the Alamo Bowl, a San Antonio based college football bowl and season bowl in San Antonio, and then the Alamo Dome was just built and all that. It's massive scale. The Spurs moved into it thinking they could get attention with David Robinson, Mario Elie, and later Tim Duncan. So yeah, they went to the Alamo Dome for a while, and they won a few titles in the Alamo Dome as a member of the San Antonio Spurs. It was funny that they had to have one giant curtain blocking off part of the Alamo Dome because of how big it was. And of course, it's happened with other stadiums too in their life. One big moment from the Alamo Dome's history was Mario Elie's 3-pointer when he. No, sorry. Was it Mario Elie? No. Who was the guy who tightrope? Was it Elie who tightrope? No, it was. What's his name? He tightrope the sideline for the 3-pointer. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Number 8 is Market Square Arena, Indy. Before the Pacers moved into the Conseco Fieldhouse, whatever it's called now, they played at Market Square Arena. It was actually a classic basketball building with passionate fans, memorable playoff battles of the Pacers with the Knicks and the Magic and other teams. And it had an underrated atmosphere. Market Square Arena was pretty good. It was intimate, like those Indiana stadium arenas and all that for basketball, like Hoosiers, the movie, and many other things. Yeah, classic field house as they call it, because Indiana's kind of home basketball, if you will. Basketball is really life in Indiana. I mean, the Colts play in the NFL, but anyway, yeah, Market Square Arena was basically the home to the Pacers. And, they had some good times before the moving to Conseco in 2000. Number 7 is the Staples Center, or now known as Crypto.com Arena, home to the Lakers and the Clippers. This is not the only time the Lakers and Clippers had to share a stadium. Actually, I think it kind of was because in 19 or no, sorry, yeah, I think the Lakers and Clippers never shared, but prior to the Staples Center, the Lakers played at the Great Western Forum, where the LA Kings played, and Jack Kent Cooke building this beautiful stadium in Inglewood Arena. I mean, and the Clippers played, I think, at the LA Sports Arena. That was kind of a lesser known building in Los Angeles, home to WrestleMania 7, only because of the whole lack of ticket sales that prevented it from being from the LA Memorial Coliseum and not because of the Gulf War. Anyway, they moved it in 2000. The Lakers were going to build this new arena called the Staples Center, and they actually had the Clippers in there too because the two LA teams. Downtown LA, many Lakers teams, superstar eras, countless NBA moments, especially Kobe's 81 points in one game and also his final game. And the Clippers did okay too at Staples Center and all that. But now the Clippers are at the Intuit Dome, Intuit, because Steve Ballmer, who bought the Clippers in 2014, have basically made the Clippers into likable stuff and not Donald Sterling like thing. God, I hate Donald Sterling. I think he's alive still. Anyway, the Staples Center is good too for the Lakers. Number 6 is Chicago Stadium. The Chicago Bulls were an expansion team in 1966. They moved into Chicago Stadium, home of the Chicago Blackhawks, and even won Chicago Bears playoff game in 1932. Remember, Chicago Stadium was the madhouse on Madison, known for the noise, the organ music, the very loud organ that Chicago Stadium built into their thing in the 1960s, and early Jordan era electricity. Chicago, the Bulls were decent, but by the late 80s, when they got MJ at his prime, he was making the Bulls stay pretty good. It didn't help that the Blackhawks were kind of playoff chokers for a few years in the 80s. I mean, the Blackhawks did get to the 92 Stanley Cup Finals the same year as the Bulls getting into the 92 NBA Finals, which had to be a scheduling nightmare because, both Chicago teams were in the finals. But yeah, Chicago Stadium was big because, MJ and crew getting the three-peat. The first three-peat was the Chicago Stadium era, and then in 95 they moved to the United Center, and that became part of the second three-peat. And that was just amazing. Number 5 is the Oracle Arena in Golden State. The Golden State Warriors were California royalty. They were actually known as the Philly Warriors for a while. Then went to San Francisco, and then went to Oakland to play in the Oracle Arena. Well, it's called the Oakland Coliseum, and that was actually right near the football stadium, the Oakland Coliseum, or Mount Davis for Al Davis. So anyway, Oracle was known for the deafening crowds, especially in the 2007 playoffs when they shocked Dallas, the 1 seed in the playoffs, next to Baron Davis and company in the We Believe underdog story. Golden State was fine, and then all of a sudden, by the mid-2010s, when Steph Curry came in after Minnesota bungled picking him twice in a row, came in with Iguodala, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, and the like. Oracle Arena was big and all that. What's even more crazy was that Oracle Arena ended its NBA run with an NBA Finals game. Kind of like, not like Chicago Stadium, because they played till 94 and they weren't in the playoff of the finals. Yeah, Oracle ended in the finals in 2019 because they were going to move to San Francisco in the Chase Center. So yeah, they go back to San Francisco. They still would be the Golden State Warriors, but they left Oakland. And the Raptors won the final game at Oracle Arena, winning the 2019 title. Of course, the crazy thing is that Oakland now has lost all 4 sports teams. Baseball, they lost the A's to Sacramento, who is a placeholder for Las Vegas. Basketball, of course, the Warriors left. Football, the Raiders left for Las Vegas. And in hockey, well, Oakland hasn't had a hockey team since the 70s. But yeah, Oakland is just so dismal. Number 4 is the United Center. So anyhow, I didn't anticipate this. The Chicago Stadium turned into the United Center, and both would be on the list. But it had the mythology, the energy of a dynasty globalizing the NBA, and it's had some great moments. Derrick Rose with that buzzer beater against Cleveland. He's had some great games. Unfortunately, though, Derrick Rose's knee injury against the Sixers in the playoffs in 2012 was where this would be there. Just days after he won the MVP award. The Bulls knew what they were doing and all that. Number 3 is the Forum, the LA Forum, Los Angeles. Home of Showtime basketball, had Hollywood glamour and fast paced excellence. Well, I mean, when you look at it this way, like Hollywood was always going to be there. Jack Nicholson was always going to be there. There were going to be some Hollywood stars and all that. It's like the Kings. Well, the LA Kings had a few Hollywood stars, and then once Gretzky came in, Tom Hanks, Goldie Hawn, um, what is it, Kurt Russell, and all that were at the games. I would say Burt Reynolds, but that's definitely wrong. But yeah, the Forum was big. It was built in '67 for the LA Kings, and then the Lakers went into the Forum. I think they played at the LA Sports Arena before the Forum. Yeah, they did. The Great Western Forum, and it was a great place for basketball. The Showtime 1980s with Magic, James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, AC Green. I would say Sam Cassell, but that's no right. Sam Perkins, Vlade Divac, and all that. Even a young Kobe took his first steps in the NBA within the Forum. So it was just basic. Number 2 is the Boston Garden in Boston. Sure, the TD Garden tries to do the things, but nothing could beat Boston with the cramping, the hot, non-air conditioned arena, loud and intimidating, and the parquet floor is the most recognizable symbol. Basketball on parquet floors was big back in the day. Boston Garden was where Boston started their dynasty in the 1950s and 60s. You would really be lucky to get a game at Boston Garden. The Bruins kind of sucked during that era. So, you could see basketball better than hockey at one time. It was good for the Boston Celtics. They won some titles at the Celtics. Havlicek stole the ball. That wasn't a championship game, but that was an important game 7 win in 1965. And then, the Celtics, passing the Boston Garden torch on to Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, even, and Reggie Lewis. So the parquet floor was massive and all that. And the Celtics liked the Boston Garden because of its intimidation factor. And number 1 is MSG, the Mecca, as they call it in the NBA, home to the now champion New York Knicks 2026. And no, this wasn't because the Knicks were the champs. They've had some unmatched cultural reach, a Manhattan spotlight, and decades upon decades of legendary performances. Madison Square Garden would have all these basketball doubleheaders, mostly for college, and it was massive and all that. But the Knicks, once MSG4, which is the current one, 1968 was built, they took it all for themselves. Although the New York Rangers have had some great moments, and let's not forget that. But yeah, MSG is where a lot of the basketball mecca would meet and all that. And New York City, you gotta love New York City and all that. And they did. Everyone loved New York City, and it brought people to its knees. And some of the great arenas of all time can't compare with Madison Square Garden. Of course, the Knicks now will have to hang a championship banner for the first time since 1973. And you had stars like Bernard King, Patrick Ewing, John Starks, Jalen Brunson coming through, Allen Houston, Chris Childs, Charles Oakley. But yeah, the Mecca is big because New York City is always bigger than Texas. They think. Anyway, I'm going to do.